Hey, everybody, and welcome to 11 Questions. I'm Milton Davis, your host, and tonight we have a special guest, Jessica Cage. Um, I've known Jessica for a while online, but I got a chance to finally meet her when she moved to the Metro Atlanta area, and it's been fun ever since. Jessica's just as fun in her writing as she is in real life. But before we get started and let you find out all this good stuff, let me read her bio first, and then we'll get the formal interview going. Okay, Jessica Cage is an international award-winning and USA Today best-selling author. Born and raised in Chicago, writing has always been a passion for her. She dabbles in artistic creations of all sorts, but at the end of the day, it is the pen that her hand itches to hold. Jessica has never considered following her dream to be a writer because she was told far too often there's no money in writing. So she chose the path most often traveled. During pregnancy, she asked herself an important question. How would she be able to inspire her unborn son to follow his dreams and reach for the stars if she never had the guts to do it herself? Jessica decided to take a risk and unleash the plethora of characters and their crazy adventurous worlds that had previously existed only in her mind into the realm of readers. She did this with hopes to inspire not only her son but herself, inviting the world to tag along on her journey to become the writer she had always wanted to be. She hopes to continue writing and bringing her signature Cage fantasies to readers everywhere. And that's Jessica's bio. And it doesn't really go nearly as far as showing to you the person that she is and the writer that she is. So I'm going to start off with the basic question that everybody asks whenever you do an interview like this is how did you get into writing?
First off, that is like my first ever bio. So I'm like, my face is red because I feel like I just got sent back into the past. But like my face. I started writing, I think like a lot of writers just as a kid, but for me it was a thing of a bond between me and my grandmother. She was the first book nerd that I knew. Like she had so many books. Our house was filled with books. She even had what I called the Beauty and the Beast bookshelf, where it's like floor to ceiling, wall to wall, like a little nook. That was my grandmother. Um, I had all these stories in my head and I wanted to tell her because I was like, she likes stories, I can tell her. And she was like, yeah, but I'm an adult and I'm doing things and you're always choosing like the most inappropriate time to come tell me these stories. So she would encourage me to write the stories down and we would read them together later, like in the day or like before bed or something. And that's how it started. It just started with me like being a little girl excited to write stories for my grandmother, and that passion has stayed with me, forever till now.
I mean, it's good that you had a person like that to be able to share your stories with and encourage you to do that. Because I hear stories a lot of time from authors who say, I really didn't have anybody to encourage me. It was a lonely thing, but you had a person that was there for you to listen to it and to write the stories down and to be able to, share them with us like you have. So, what was the first book that you published? And another thing, since you're an indie author too, I mean, I'm always going to bring that up too. Um, did you originally start as an indie author, or did you start, trying to publish through trad publications and stuff like that?
I've never submitted to an agent or anything. Like traditional publishing, honestly, just did not feel like the right path for me. I am a DIY girl. I wanted to like put my hands on things, and then I also did not want the message, the faces of the characters. Like I didn't want anything to be changed because it fit whatever publishing was looking for at the time. I wanted the stories that existed inside of me to be presented to the public or to the readers or whoever in their most authentic form. So when I first started publishing, I was at a job readiness program. Like I had just had my son and I was getting back into the workforce. And I entered this program to just kind of help me get, confident about interviewing and things. And one of the coaches there actually had informed me about KDP, and like they were just like really launching their like self-publishing platform. And so I did a little research into that and I was like, this is the way for me because, I want to be able to do this, but I want to do it my way. So I just kind of dove into self-publishing then and never looked back.
So, how long ago was this? This was like maybe like what, 10 years ago?
Well, we're coming up on about 15 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been publishing now since um well, I hit publish December of 2020, but KDP says my book didn't publish until January. So, but yeah, it's about 14, 15 years coming up. It'll be 15 years at the end of next year. So yeah.
Okay. So you've been in it. So you've been at this for a minute.
I have. I mean, KDP really like kicked off their self-publishing with, Amazon, I think maybe a year or two before I started like really doing this. So I was one of, and I said this to someone before, I was like, oh, I was one of the like first wave. And I think they took it as me saying I was a first wave of like self-publishing. I'm like, no, specifically for Kindle. like,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
first wave of like the ebook authors that were like taking that, path.
Mhm.
And honestly, it was such a blessing because being able to do that actually garnered me like access to people who could help me like build and become better in the business. So I don't think that I would be here, obviously today if it wasn't for having the access to that program.
Yeah, because that is a big thing about being an indie publisher, is being indie authors being able to find the right support.
Yeah,
Because a lot of people, I've heard a lot of horror stories where people started off and got one of these rip off publishers and stuff like that, and to be able to have that knowledge to be
yeah.
able to do it the right way, saves you a lot of time and it does save you a lot of money. So what was that first book? What was that first book you dropped on the world that introduced the world of Jessica Cage?
It was an alien race of vampires who came here to escape a darkness that took over their world. And it was about a main character who was, early 20s and learning that she was actually next in line to be their queen. Um, the High Arc Vampires was like my answer to Twilight because
Oh,
I am
okay.
a Twihard. I am a Twihard. Like I love Twilight. I still watch it to the day. I know I'm in my 30s. It doesn't matter. I love it. But what I didn't like was how Bella was constantly being told by men that she didn't know what she wanted. She couldn't understand who she was. She had no idea. Like it was like this constant message of like men telling this woman who's like, this man, I don't want you. You don't know what you want. You're too young, even though he's literally like 3 years younger than her, telling her she's too young to know what she wants. So it's like, I don't know, something about that didn't sit right with me. And then I had like little cousins who were like starting to get into reading too, and they were like reading Twilight, and I was like, we have to do some representation here because I grew up in a household of women who didn't have men telling them what they did and didn't want or how they felt about things. It was just, they were support, they were healthy relationships. You know what I mean? So it's like, how
Mhm.
do I present this, but still, do it with something that I love, which is vampires and fantasies and aliens. And I just kind of wrapped all that up in one. And yeah.
But I mean, that's cool because that's was one of the main reasons that I started self-publishing is being able to tell a story a certain way and being able to tell it my way.
Yeah.
And you saw that and you said, okay, I need to do something about this. So, let me write these books
Yeah.
and you've done. Now, what was the name of that book?
It's called Revitalized. It's the High Arc Vampire series. It's 3, 4 books, something like
Okay.
that.
So is it still it's still available?
Yeah, the first I just recently started republishing them because I did take a lot of my old work down, but the first book is back online now. Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna make sure that we put your links on this video so people can find your work and stuff like that. That's
Thank
one of the
you.
main ways to do that. So
I should have had the stack of books next to me so I could just
yeah, because how many books have you published now?
43. This bookshelf here has most of them.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
You right on me. I mean, we actually you probably yeah, now are these all books that you've written or are these books that you've published by other people as well?
No, they're all by me. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I need
I
to
don't
hand you the
publish other
trophy.
people.
I need to hand you the
I'm not
trophy
like
then
you.
because I'm about when it comes to books I publish myself, I'm about like 10, 13 books behind you. So, and I probably won't catch up because I'm old. But
Oh Lord.
but anyway, but you would you say most of what you write is like urban fantasy or that type of that in that particular genre?
Yeah, I would say it's urban, but lately it's been more like futuristic or new world fantasy. Like I am really liking building my own planets and then playing around on those. So there has been a shift. And then also I'm like I have a couple of whips where I'm like doing more sci-fi now.
Okay.
Kind of going back to the roots of like watching sci-fi with my mom and
Mhm.
like purely sci-fi. Because I do like elements of it in my storylines. Like there's always like an alien or like some huge tech thing that has to happen, but like I wanted to try to go like true, like, robotic sci-fi alien fantasticalness, but without like dragons and magic and stuff.
Okay, because you got a story in Space Funk coming up,
Yes,
and you got a
yes,
story in Cyberpunk as well.
yes.
So you got to well, you're in the Terminus 2 anthology.
That's true.
Yeah, so I might be getting mixed up because I got you.
You
I'm
got a
working.
lot. I
Yeah,
know.
we're.
I don't know if it's cyber. It's one of them. Space Punk for sure. I don't think I did cyber, but I did space.
Yeah, you did Terminus 2. I know those two. You
Yes, and
developed.
Terminus. Yeah.
Now there was one series that you did that was really interesting, and that was the one where you created a world and you brought a bunch of different authors in it to write in that world. Can you talk about that one a little bit? Because I was really intrigued when I saw that one.
Yeah. So okay, there's two of them. I've done two. And I have a plan for like four more, but um it's pretty much just that. Like like I said, I've been really having fun with like crafting and building the world and from the ground up. Which means it's not something that's happening here on Earth. Like it's completely separate, and there are never any humans because I don't really like humans to I like to write about them. I don't know what it is like, and I think that's also a reason why a lot of my stuff tends to be more fantasy because I'm like, this is a human, and I don't want to talk. Um, but it is a 2 year process. So when I tell people, like, it's something that I create, I built the world, and then I just ask people that I really want to write with and I really want to work with to become a part of it. The last one I did was the Eldritch Trials, and it was all Black women of fantasy. And I just was like, hey, I created this world that's governed by a goddess who's literally gonna like punish anybody who does anything to hurt the world. Like that's the whole premise. And the characters have to enter what is called the Eldritch Trials, which is a test of self. And if they fail, their entire species gets punished by the goddess. It's not just the one person; like she'll rip the entire species from the world and punish them. And I was like, hey, but this is like I said, it's a 2 year process. It's not something that's going to happen like overnight, like a few months, and then you get to go on. Like you're stuck with me for 2 years through the whole because like we do a world building thing. We some of this most of the world I build before I invite the authors in, but a lot of it is us having conversations and building those other pieces together because it has to be consistent. It has to feel like home for all of us who are writing in it, in order for it to come out, well done. Um, so yeah, 2 year process, and I don't, I have a plan for more, but it's a lot of work. And right now, I kind of want to focus on like this wave of rom-com fantasy stuff that I'm doing, and then building the sci-fi stuff. So it may be a while before I do another one. I know a lot of people are like, can you let me know when the next one's happening? And I was like, yeah, I remember that. But it's a fun process, and I think especially through the last one, like it was a solid group of women working together, and it felt like a sisterhood through the process. And especially for the newer authors, they were able to get more support and learn a lot through the process. And then it also gives other people access to my platform because my readers will pick up that book and then they'll see that there are other books and then potentially go and read them. So
Yeah, I like that. I like the fact that you bringing authors together and working together like that. We had that similar thing going with Dark Universe, and the collaboration between the authors is really cool, and how sometimes they'll come up with something that may not have thought about.
yeah, yeah,
We did the first Dark Universe anthology. We covered this whole span of this Afrocentric universe, but then one of the authors said, we're spending all this time talking about this universe, this empire, how it rose and fall, but we're not talking about it. We got so much stuff. We're not talking about how it was in its heyday, and that led to the second anthology because of the suggestions from the authors. And
yeah,
it's really cool. Like I said, it's really cool to work with authors that you know and respect, and the feedback and stuff like that. Now you
yeah.
said something in your last statement that gave me a couple of segues. One of them was about the current global sensation that you have right now, and the other one had something to do with the um, access to your social media group. But I think first, what I want to talk about is this one right here. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, this is one of the ones that we had from Dragon Con, one of the two books that you had left over, and I'm gonna go ahead and run you your money on this one because you're not getting it back. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that now. The next time I see you, you'll be signing this. So,
Oh wow.
so we're gonna get that out right there. This is my copy.
Okay.
So and just to go into this, I gotta say something about this. The name of this book is I Accidentally Summoned a Demon Boyfriend. And I felt the energy of this book at Dragon Con, especially because we were sharing a table together. And this book is so popular that it was selling itself. When Jessica was at the table, it was really crazy because people were coming by, they knew her, and they was excited and stuff, and she was signing books and everything. But then the next day she wasn't there. That same energy was there. People were coming by and say, "Hey, I know this book. I've seen it on TikTok and stuff, and people were buying it and they were like, disappointed, because you weren't there to sign it and stuff like that." I said, well, now you got a copy. You can, when you see it the next time, you get it signed and stuff. And I saw the similar thing when we were doing the Georgia Indie Book Fair. It was the same energy there and stuff. So just for people who are watching this video, if you don't have this book, get it. For one thing, just get it. Don't even worry, just get it, because it's like that. And I don't say stuff like that unless I believe in something like that. But since we've got Jessica here, we're gonna let her talk about this book. Let us tell her where this idea came from, and most of all, let her talk about the second name of this book, which is the alternate name of this book, which is Booty Juice. So I'm gonna sit back now, and I'm gonna let you do your thing.
Oh my goodness. Okay, first of all, I never thought in a million years that people would be yelling booty juice at me like in person after reading this book. Like I'm literally, you're the booty juice author. Like, no, I'm not the booty juice author. But honestly, you know me in real life. I feel like most people who know me in real life are like, you're funny. Like, why, I have been a nutcase my entire life. I love rom-coms. People write to music. I write to stand up. You know what I mean? Like when I'm writing, and I'm literally writing people being dismembered by dragons, and it's like Eddie Murphy in the background. You know what I mean? Like it's insane. And so a few years ago, I started like saying that I wanted to bring more humor to my writing. Like I just really wanted to like kind of go in that route. And at first I was thinking that I would just take the fantasy all the way out of it, but in the few years recently, we've seen that people want the funny with the fantasy, like those books have been doing well. So I was like, you know what, maybe I can try my hand at this. And I do this series on TikTok, which is where I'm like stitching people's videos, like a 5-second clip of their video, and I'm doing like a little short story, like a writing prompt, but with video. And I started putting more humor into those videos just to kind of see what my audience would, feel, like kind of test it. And they were like, we need more of this. We need more. So I did a couple stitches. One was like a witch thing. Another one was a demon. And those were two of the ones that really took off like insanity. So I was like, okay, this is something I could do.
Yep.
And so, I don't know. I just sat down and I asked myself, like, what would happen if, we have all these books. I wanted her to be a book nerd. I wanted it to be wrapped around like the energy, because the storyline is that the main character reads a spell from a fantasy novel. So she's a bookworm herself. And she didn't think the spell was going to work, but the spell was designed to bring you your perfect man. She does it and it works. Just not how she thought it would. It brought her a demon, not a, handy dandy man from down the street. So, and it's, this one is a spicy novel because a lot of people come through my Siren series, which is spicy, and then they go to my other books and they're like, hello, what happened to the spice? So readers were asking me for more spice. So I was like, all right, let's mix these things in here. And luckily it's done what it needed to do. It was fun to write. And I think that's one of the things too, like the last few books that I put out before this was like heavy, emotional, like beating me down, beating, my readers down. I had people, emailing me, I'm on chapter 4. And they're like, how could you do this to these characters? And I'm like, oh, okay. So this was like a relief, like a palate cleanser for both me and my reader. But I was like, if I'm doing this, I'm doing it big, I'm doing it right. And over the last few years, I have really been successful with building my platform on TikTok, on Instagram, like in general. Just I have a lot more eyes on me. So I was like, let's do this the right way. This was my first time doing like a full marketing push. Like I took my time, I planned it out. I did PR boxes for like book talkers and influencers on Instagram and YouTube. Yeah, I did. I gave away so many copies for like ARC reviewers, and I don't know, it all just kind of came together. And I think none of that matters if the book itself isn't good. And I have to say, like, this is like some of the best work that I've done in a while, and I think it's just because of how much fun I had with it. And I've also tightened up my process of writing in general because I had a concussion last year and I was like, I have to do something different. And it's crazy to think that having a concussion actually made me a better writer because I just paid so much attention to detail, like so much more than I had before because I knew my brain was like struggling at the time when I was finishing up the book. So yeah, it all came together. It was fun. It was sexy. It was, and then I was like, how do I start this book off so that my, current readers know that this is not a typical Jessica Cage book? And the first line of the of the book does it. The first chapter is called Booty Juice, and it starts with her screaming about a man leaving juice from the crack of his tush on her seat. So that's just and it's been that it took off from there. And I mean the I think the best part about it, or what has helped it be so successful, it's the readers who have read it and are just talking about it. Like a lot of what you see on social media is just other people talking about the book and genuinely being excited. And then also Black women who are like, this character is me. Like I did not have to pretend. I didn't have to stretch my imagination by any means to see this as like me. I've had so many Black women reach out like, I felt like I was reading my diary. Like she talks like me, she moves like me, she is me. And I don't have to like try to see that, that she's me. And I think that, that was just, I feel like that's the part of this that just makes me feel like I did it, you know what I mean? Because those women feel represented, and the way that Matisse loves on Raina and how their relationship is built. And how, I mean, I had someone message me like, he detangled her hair, like little details like that. Like he detangled and two strand twist. And, like they're so excited about those little details because it makes them feel seen. And then also Raina's personality and her friendships and all of that is just, yeah, it gave my audience, specifically the Black women in my audience, something to like hold on to and be like, this is me.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I mean, because I mean, as an author, that's what you want to do. You want to connect with your and I mean, I give praise to authors who stretch their boundaries and stuff like that. But the reality is that nobody writes about us like us. It's those little details that that other people don't see in that day-to-day event. That those day-to-day going on that we can relate to and that we can present in a way. And you've done that in this book. I mean, this book is what I think you said you sold over 10,000 copies the first month.
Yeah, the first month it was like 7 or 8,000, and now we are 3 months out, and it's over 12K now. I did my last like numbers like a week ago. It was like 12.5 or something like that. So it's doing really well. And the audiobook just launched, and I think it's probably going to be by itself like 1,000 sold in the first month. I just have to wait for final numbers to come through. But like this book has done, none of my books have done this, like especially so quickly. Like my Siren series was the book that kept my business afloat because like spicy sirens banging underwater, like yeah, let's do it. But there is like groundswell. There's a community being built behind this. There's a group called Black Girls Read. It's like 100,000 Black women in this group, and they chose this for their book of month. Like, what?
Man.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
this book is just it's becoming something that has like its own world. Like there's fan art out there. There's people talking about doing like what is it called? Fan fiction already. Like you know what I mean? Like it's taken off, and it's exactly what I wanted it to do. Like I wanted to create something that had like a movement behind it. You know what I mean? Like a community that really kind of grabbed hold of it, and
Yes.
and it's. I'm overwhelmed every day when I think about the book. Like honestly.
Yeah, this is the kind of success that all authors look dream for. I mean, indie and mainstream published authors and stuff. And I think this is the kind of thing, and what you're doing shows people that what you're as authors, as any authors, this is possible. Now, let me ask you another question before I get on to my next thing I want to talk about. So, what can we expect? What can all of our Demon Boyfriend fans expect next? Is there a sequel to this book? Is there a follow-up? I already know the answer to this question, but
Yeah.
what are we looking at?
I'm definitely staying in the rom-com. The next book is called I Accidentally Hooked Up with a Vampire. It's a different couple. I know everybody's like, we need more of Raina and Matisse, but it's like, yeah, but I want to, Whitney and Domino are next, right? So it comes out early next year, and I'm super excited about it. It's the same vibe, fantasy, spiciness, humor. Like I'm just having so much fun reading it. And like my alpha readers, I've started giving them chapters. I always give them like a few chapters at a time. I don't know why. I just but the feedback so far has been very great, like amazing. And I think I was so nervous about following up Raina and Matisse. Like I was like, I don't know if I could do this again, because I think the biggest concern we all have is like having a really good first book, and then the second or third book are like, eh.
Yeah.
But so far the readers are like, no, this is everything. This is hitting it. So yeah, I'm excited. I've been wanting to get back to vampires, but like mature vampires, because my original vampires were younger and we couldn't have as much fun with them. So this time we're bringing it around to the vampire. So it's going to be a collection of like books that can be read in any order, but there is a common thread through all of them.
That's excellent. The thing about it, I notice most about you and anything else is that how you really love writing and what you write about. But the other thing, and I think if people are really listening to you when you talk about, is how much of a student you are of the business side of publishing. I mean, when you talk about how you built your audience and the different things that you do on Instagram and on TikTok, you can see where this is a detailed process for you. It's not something that you're doing at random. And I think what I know that has a lot to do with your success as an author, other than the fact that you write great books. You have to have a process to it. And we could do a whole nother video on that. But I would like you to touch on that a little bit, because that's something that always comes up in conversation when you're with writers. And people are always trying to, figure out, how do I do this and how do I do that? But I guess what I'm asking is just kind of give like a general synopsis of, how social media has helped you as far as promoting your books and different things like that.
Yeah, I think that making that decision to really focus on building my social media platform, like in 2020, I was like, we're locked in the house anyway, so I might as well like put the energy into this, was one of the biggest factors of my success right now. Because first off, before I even started, I was like, I want to build a community. I don't want to just have a page that has a bunch of numbers on it. Like, that's great, but I wanted to build something that would be sustainable and also have some real impact on the business side of things, right? And I think that you do that by building a community, by creating, connections with people who actually care not only about you, but your product. And so that became the focus for me, is like, how do I lean into social media? And luckily I got on TikTok when it was like very easy to like find your people on TikTok. It's a little harder now. But that's what all social media platforms, like when they first pop off, it's like, it's very easy to get in and like, and find your audience. But in 2020, I started doing TikToks, and it just kind of went from there, where I did one video and I didn't think anything of it. I posted it. I went on and was I was on a video call with another friend, like another author. We were just video chatting. And I'm looking, and she's like, what are you looking at? I'm like, I'm getting all these notifications from my website. I'm like, what is going on? And I was getting orders. I'm like, what is happening? And then I had Book Report open, which is like a tracker that's like, tracks your sales on Amazon. And I had the setting on where it would do the cha-ching every time you got a sale. And then all of a sudden that thing was cha-ching and cha-ching. And we're like, what is going on? And then I'm seeing like all the notifications from TikTok. And I'm like, what is happening? So I go on TikTok, and when I put that video up, I had like 100 maybe followers. It shot me in a matter of hours to like 5,000 followers. Like, it was insane. And so I was like, hold on, because not only am I seeing followers, but I'm seeing these followers buy books, like immediately go buy books off of some cute little dee, dee, dee. Like, I used the popular sound and I was just holding up my books. That's literally it. And it took off. And all I needed was that little taste. That's all I needed was a little taste. And I said, now how do I make this happen forever? Like, how do I keep this consistent for myself? And I just started building something that was, like I said, sustainable for me. And the thing that I tell people, whenever you're going to start anything, like when social media, don't just try to do what you see someone that's, popular doing. You have to find something that is sustainable, that you can do consistently, that you're comfortable with, and that is authentic to you. So you going out and copying and pasting what you see me or another popular person doing, first of all, it may burn you out because it's not something that you can consistently come up with. I know that a lot of people tried to do like my Stitch writing prompts, and they did a couple and it was like, I just couldn't do it no more, because I'm like, but that's how my brain works all the time. So I'm not doing anything extra. I'm with every video I see on TikTok, I have a story that pops up in my brain, because my brain has been doing that since I was a little girl. That's not gonna happen for you. That takes me like 4 or 5 minutes every time I do a Stitch video. It doesn't take that much time. I don't have to do that much behind it. So it's something that's sustainable for me. But for someone who that is not a natural thing for you, now you're spending 7 hours a day trying to do TikTok prompts when you should be doing something that comes a lot more naturally to you, right? Something that's more authentic.
Yeah.
So I have taught this before with other authors a few times, and I will be doing it again in the future. But the first thing that I tell them is like, yeah, research what people are doing, but also find things that you feel comfortable doing consistently, because that is the biggest thing about social media. The numbers will go up and down, but you have to be consistent. You have to show up. You have to, keep your presence. You'll gain and lose followers. Your views will go up and down. Your interactions will go up and down. But as long as you're consistent and you're like focusing on that core audience that you're building and building that community with your readers, it grows authentically, because those people, regardless of what your numbers are doing on your page, those people now care so much about you and your work that they're going to go out and they're going to start talking about it, and they're going to be pushing people towards you, right? So your audience kind of becomes like a funnel for you to get more people. But it doesn't work if you're just trying to copy and paste what someone else is doing and you're being inauthentic, I think.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things I learned from you, because I've been watching. Whenever I see people that are doing stuff successfully, I'm like, okay, what are they doing, and that I'm not doing, or what are they doing that I can add to my repertoire,
Yeah.
And it's like you say, I don't want to do something that I can't maintain, because then I'm getting the audience that's going to expect me to do this all the time, and just like you say, it's not natural to you.
Yeah.
And so you find that way, and that's what when I'm looking at what you do and watch what you do, like, because you're my role model when it comes to social media, building a social media audience, because I've been fumbling around at this thing for a while now, and it's giving me some focus to seeing what you're doing and what's working for you, and then saying, okay, is this something that I can do, and can I incorporate it? And that's been my journey, and I mean, watching you do this, I think is an example of it. I've had we were talking. I had a thing about on Facebook on it today, whatever today is when you see the video, and somebody was talking about, they were talking about marketing tools. People say, and they say, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that, and nothing's really working. I think what they're kind of saying is not working the way I want it to, and it's not giving them that overnight success that they want from it,
Yeah.
And the biggest thing with book selling and everything is consistency. It's just doing it and being consistent with it. And it's a marathon. Now, we always said all this, a marathon, not a sprint. You've been doing this for 15 years.
Yeah.
And it's working, and it's working for you now, that kind of thing. So I think that's one of the biggest things that people need to pay attention to. And it's what you talk about and what you show and what your work and what you do and stuff, So
Yeah,
Have,
that's like that quote that's like, don't compare your start to someone's finish. Like, you don't know how long it took someone to get to where they are. Just because you just saw them and you're like, oh, this person came out of nowhere. No, they didn't. They have been consistently showing up for themselves for
yeah,
years before you ever saw them.
exactly.
So that's one of the things that I'm constantly like the new writers that come to me, I'm always telling them like, don't look at me and be like, I need to be like her tomorrow. Like it took me, over a decade, like a decade and a half now to get to where I am, right?
Hmm.
Don't compare yourself to me. Like it doesn't make sense to do that. I would never compare my day one to someone's day, 300, 400, whatever. It's not fair to yourself and it's not fair to your future self to put that type of pressure on you. Like it just isn't. So it's just show up. That's all you have to do. Be consistent, show up and build your audience.
Yeah. So there's another project that I wanted to bring up. One that is a new one. It's a different one. I guess I could say it was different. But and the title of it is "Be Kind to Yourself." So kind of talk to us about that a little bit. Tell us what to expect, what's going on with this project and what to expect from
Let me hold it up.
it. There you go.
Be Kind to Yourself author is the first of a series of products, I should say, that are going to focus on the self-care part of publishing. And because we have so many how-tos, right? People come to me like, what would you suggest? What advice can you give? And I'm like, there's so much of that already out there, but there's very little that focuses on how, first of all, what we do is a very lonely thing. Like 90% of this is like us sitting alone in our offices, typing or on our desk or on the train or on our lunch break or whatever, right? Creating something, right? And it can be very lonely. But then we also start to forget to take care of ourselves. A lot of people do that. I know that I did. And it wasn't until I started prioritizing taking care of myself mentally, physically, emotionally, that things really started to take off because I could show up better when it comes to like my writing and being there for my audience and the consistency that I'm talking about. I struggled so much with consistency because I wasn't taking care of myself. I was too tired. I was emotional. I had things to unpack. So um, I wanted to create something for authors and creators in general, but specifically authors because that's who I am, that focuses on taking care of yourself through the journey of publishing. Because I don't think any of us can show up the way we need to if we're not taking care of ourselves. And so it will be a part of a full like happy author kit is what I'm going to call it. That comes with more tools that you can use. I've talked about these things like, do I have it? I'd be throwing this thing all over the place. Hold on. Where is it at? And I shouldn't do that because it's literally for my sanity. Oh, here it is. It's a happy author jar, right? So like in this jar are quotes from readers, are, accomplishments. Now, I used to have one that was big, but when I moved to Georgia, they say when you drive, when you're moving, like things just disappear off your moving truck. A lot of things did that. I don't know what happened between Chicago and Georgia, but that jar and a couple other things disappeared. So I started a new one. But anyway, it has positive thoughts, it has accomplishments. And so those days where I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, this is so hard, because we have those moments. Nothing's working, the sales dip too long or something like that. I just shake this up, pop one out, and I read it. And it's like a reminder of like how far I've come, someone that I impacted. Like, so this journal comes with like a bunch of different tools that I've developed for myself over the years to help make this process happier. And then the kit that I'm putting together will come with like your own little happy author jar that you can start. Like it's going to be a whole thing. And then I'm also launching a new business around this that is going to be coming out. I'll be announcing that in a couple weeks, but I really just want to start focusing on the community and the self-care, like the healthy habits of being a publishing author, because we don't talk about it enough. We don't. And I've seen a lot of authors who I started out with that they're just not doing anymore. And I really feel like if we were focusing on taking care of ourselves and our emotional and mental health back then, a lot of them would still be publishing and they would be very successful because they were very talented authors, but they, couldn't take it anymore pretty much. So I'm trying to create something that is more support for the author.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that. The journals have already been doing pretty well. You know, I've been taking them to events, and I sent them to a few of my like author buddies, like, use this and tell me how you feel about it. And it got good feedback. So I'm very excited to like start building and putting those out there.
That's an excellent idea, because out there, and like you say, you see a lot of authors that are out there dealing with, what we deal with as authors, and even this brave new world that we're stepping into now. And you need that support. You need that encouragement. You need that reminder of that what you're doing matters. And
Yeah.
and you sitting here and organizing it the way that you've done it. I can see that being a great support tool for authors and stuff like that. So I would definitely um, encourage other authors to take a look at this, and those who are like struggling right now, and there are a lot of us struggling right now. There are a lot of us that are like sitting down saying, hey, should I continue to do this? Are people really paying attention to what I'm doing, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
And this is a perfect way to track it. It's a perfect way to track
Yeah.
track it. Really
And
is.
that's one of the first things in the journal is like, before you start this journal, you need to write an oath to yourself, and you need to also write your why. Like, why are you doing this? Because a lot of us forget the why, and that muddle, and when the waters get all muddied by all the info that's coming in. I think knowing and having your why in front of you clears that up. You know what I mean? Like, the comparison comes in, the numbers aren't looking right, the reviews may not be, but it's like, why did you start this? Like, that's what you need to be focused on.
Mhm.
And if the why is still valid for you, then you keep going.
Okay. Well, Jessica, I want to wrap this up by saying, we're glad you came down from Chicago to the ATL. I mean, I know you missed the pizza there, and you missed the Italian beef and all that kind of stuff. but we're doing the best we can. We got you. We got lemon pepper wets and like that. So you got things to replace that with, and create new memories and stuff. So, and working with you has been fun as well. I mean, being able to the experience what you're writing, the being able to do the cons and stuff with you, and see how you're supporting authors in that, and fitting into this community has been really great as well. But before we go, we got to let you tell everybody, what's coming down the track. You've told us some of that now, and where people can find you.
Yeah, so obviously I'll be republishing a lot of my back catalog that I took down. I accidentally hooked up with a vampire is coming March of 2025. And then of course the journals, the authors support the community. It's a bunch of stuff. So if you want to keep up with me, you can join my newsletter at jessicacage.com, or you can follow me on social media. I am at jcageauthor on all platforms. I try to keep it easy. You type in J Cage, you're gonna find me.
Well, thank you so much for spending some of your time with us. Of course, we wish you continued success, and I know that's going to happen anyway. But we wish you
Thank you.
anyway. And for everybody that's watching, I hope you enjoyed 11 Questions with Jessica Cage. We'll have her contact information on the video, and I hope you'll take time and take a look at some of the other videos that we have from our MV Media Station as well. And so, y'all take care and have a good evening. Peace.